Good morning. Who wants to talk about the Good and Callaway driver ad? Because I do. I know I talk a lot on this channel about the job market and unemployment and job seeker protections, but don't forget that brand and culture is my bread and butter. It's what I'm really interested in, and I love to talk about it. So let's talk about this ad. So for anyone who doesn't know, Good Golf, which is a YouTube channel for promoting golfers and doing a lot, they did a partnership with Callaway to develop a driver. And what they did in promotion of this driver is they developed a 15-second ad in which Garrett Clark, who is a golfer, shoves to the ground Alexis Mystowski, I might be butchering her last name, who is also a golfer, when she goes to reach for the driver. So she walks up, she goes to reach for the driver. He runs, shoves her to the ground. She calls out. He says something to the effect of, "Don't touch my driver." And then the caption at the bottom of the ad was, "You've been warned." Callaway and Good driver. So the ad was developed by Good, and then it was reposted and promoted by Callaway. It was up for about a day. It got a tremendous amount of backlash because, shockingly, people don't like to watch ads where men violently shove women to the ground for seemingly no reason. And then both companies issued statements. Good apologized and said that that ad did not align with their values. And then Callaway issued a statement thanking Good for their swift response and for continuing to work with them on inclusion in the sport, and that they looked forward to their continued partnership. And then both Good and Callaway continued to promote the driver for sales. So that's basically what's happened, and that's happened over the course of the past few days. It's just happened. And we can have a lot of conversations about how this is just bad creative, how this is a bad ad, how did this even get approved, whatever. And the thing that I want to talk about from my own personal lane is that this is actually a great showcase of culture at an organization. Because yes, if you think about the sheer number of reviews and approvals that have to go into place for an ad like that to be pushed out, that is a conversation that needs to happen. But why at no point were there any objections, or were any objections taken seriously? And that is something that will always come back to the culture of the organization. Because those kinds of ads get pushed out when there is not enough safety within the organization for there to even be an objection or for an objection to be spoken of. Because here's the thing to consider. Good, back in November 2025, they launched a channel called Good Girls. I won't get into that. And that is specifically a channel for women's golf and promoting female golfers. And Alexis is one of the founding members of Good Girls. So just back in November, which is 10 months ago, they put together this channel because they have seen the sheer amount of growth when it comes to women within the sport of golf. And they decided that this was a worthwhile thing to invest in. And then 10 months later, they took one of those founding members and shoved her to the ground from one of the founding members of the other channel, the men's channel. And the reason why I say that this is a culture issue is because that is kind of a clear indication, not that there aren't women within the organization propping up the organization, moving things forward, but there were likely not women in the room. Or if there were not women in the room who felt safe enough to object to this kind of an ad. Or additionally, there were not women in the room who saw an issue with the ad. And that comes down to a problem in culture that's around diversity of thought. Because I work in brand, I work in creative. I have been in those rooms many times where someone makes a joke, someone presents an idea, everyone goes, ho, 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 that's great, and just moves forward. regardless of whether it's good creative or not, regardless of whether it's misogynistic, bigoted, whatever it might be. But no one either feels safe enough or has the wherewithal to say, like, is this even a good idea? Do the 12 of us find it funny, but maybe no one else will? And the thing we have to remember is that golf as a sport notoriously has a reputation of a lot of classism, a lot of racism, a lot of sexism, right? And golf as a sport, they are trying to change these things. They are trying to move things forward. So the National Golf Foundation did a huge study back in May looking at who is golfing, who is engaging in golf. And one of the fascinating things is that 52% of all net new participation in the sport of golf, like on the course, driving range, I'm not sporty, I don't know. 52% of all growth is women. So the majority, more than half of all growth within the sport is happening from women. Women deciding this is a sport they want to engage in, women being interested, and women are widely represented in like brand new golfers, in growth, in becoming more competitive, all of these things. So this is a huge audience. If you want to target an audience to buy your product, if you want to look at people who might be new to the sport, who might be interested in the sport, who are going to want new equipment, you want to look at who is coming in, who is interested in the sport, and it's women. Women are expanding rapidly in this sport, and within 15 seconds, you showed them, consciously or unconsciously, that they're not welcome in the sport. Now, there's a lot that Good and Callaway are going to have to do to walk this back. And that's where brand and reputation are really, really important. And it's going to require a little bit more than just a singular statement. But I'm more interested in the culture at these organizations. What's going on that this ad was suggested, approved, put together, published, and launched, and then taken down within 24 hours because it was such a bad look? Where did the conversation break? Where did the diversity of thought not come in? And where did people not feel safe enough to object to this? Because for that quick a takedown, for that quick a backlash, the idea was always bad. So why did it get made? What is happening within your organization that allowed it to get made? That's the interesting question to me. That's the thing to really look at, especially if we're talking about inclusion in golf. And for good, you're talking about the values of your organization. You may not be practicing them. And so what do you do in order to practice them so that those values aren't just things that you're posting on your website, but they're actually being embodied by the people who work for you? It's an interesting conversation. It's one that I think is warranted, even if it's a little uncomfortable for the folks at the top. And it's one I'm welcome to have.